Women of Reddit, what was your worst run-in with a creep? In 5th grade, after ballet practice, I was only wearing shorts and a jacket over my dance clothes, leotard and tights, and standing in a Chipotle line. Some old dude was behind me and asking me about my phone. According to my mother, he was looking at my body, scanning it up and down. Even before I found that out, he gave me the creeps. When we left, he rushed to pick up his order and ran out the door after us and followed us home. He stopped following at the last turn. I had trouble sleeping. The most memorable was when I was sitting in my parents' front garden, on the swing, reading. The way everything is laid out with the trees and whatnot, you can barely see the swing/deck/barbecue area from any perspective that's not from the front door. Very private spot. Anyway, I was just sitting there reading when I hear someone walking up. Assume it's a family member because how would it not be? Someone plops down on the swing next to me, throws an arm around me, and it's just some effing guy. Says some stuff, tries to move closer, and proceeds to attempt to keep me from leaving when I get up. I get the F out of there, practically sprint back to the house and tell my dad what just happened and that there's some butthole in our garden being completely gross at me. He just laughs and says, "Oh, that's just new across the street neighbor. Be nice." The F? Over the next couple years, Craphead would go on to make me and my older, only occasionally visiting, sister super uncomfortable any chance he got. Long stories. And his poor, but large and angry, dog was always loose in the neighborhood and murdering other people's pets. That mother effer still makes my blood boil. I was 21 in a strange city and got separated from my friend at a bar. I was drunk and wanted to go back to the hotel, so as I'm leaving, this guy who had been sitting near me all night followed and got in my cab with me and closed the door. Again, I was very drunk, so had to think quickly and stay as calm as possible. He tried to talk to me and I just nodded and made small talk. I didn't know if rejection would turn him violent, so I played along the best I could, after telling the driver where to take me. The whole time this guy is moving closer and touching me, so as soon as the car stopped I got out, ran into the hotel lobby where I knew this man would be following me, and screamed to the hotel security and desk employees, "I do not know this man. He is following me," and they took it from there. I was walking my dog and made the mistake of not rushing home once it got dark. A man in a baseball cap and oversized jacket blocked my path to comment how pretty my dog was and how I must take good care of him. I smiled, tightly, and thanked him. Told him to have a good day and nodded and went to go around him. So he naturally grabbed my arm and said, "Yeah, I bet you take real good care of anything you have. You married?" I lied and said yes. He let me go but followed me home. I wound up calling my boyfriend to come pick me up. A guy who stays regularly at the hotel I work in, all the female staff know to avoid getting caught alone with him. He has a habit of asking us if we know of any adult fun nearby. If you just act like you don't know what he's talking about, he'll say he wants to go to brothels and have a good time without his wife. He'll then progress to offering you various amounts of money for the night and asking you what you like in bed and what you'd be willing to do. He developed such an obsession with one of our staff before she left that security would walk around with her when he stayed because he'd followed her out to her car at one point, making suggestive comments. Got stuck alone with him once as I was behind the counter and he stood blocking the only way out from behind it. He started the usual chat and I told him I wasn't interested. He then moved on to asking me what time I finished, if I lived nearby, if I walked home alone. My male coworker turned up then, but he creeped on me from a distance the rest of the day and watched me leave. I have no doubt he will assault someone one day. Hotel won't ban him because he regularly spends money. Edit. I woke up to so many replies on here. Quite a lot of people are telling me to share the name of the hotel so they can leave bad reviews. The thing is that it's probably already not in the best financial place due to the pandemic, and tanking it that way could result in a lot of people losing their jobs. It's badly managed, but I do have coworkers I don't want to put in that position. I hadn't thought of the police as being useful in that kind of situation, but it's a good idea. Even the mention of reporting to them may force the managers to act. My department's manager, who had a tendency to tell us to suck it up, was replaced just before the pandemic. The new manager is female, so I'm hoping she'll be more sensitive to the situation and push upper management to act next time. The fact that they won't kick him out is irritating. A guy saw me in the metro and thought I was cute, which meant he had to follow me on my 5 kilometers walk home to my flat in the middle of the night. He introduced himself to me as I was about to put in the key to my door. Weird Larry lived in my dorm. He unsuccessfully hit on all the girls, which is why he was Weird Larry. It totally ruined his self-esteem. One night, Larry just showed up and invited himself into my room. I was not fully clothed. He took this as an invitation and climbed up into my bunk bed. I asked him to get down, and he asked me to come up there with him so we could have sex. When I refused, he took some quarters out of his pocket, put them on my nightstand and said, "What if I paid you? You could do your laundry." I told him that wasn't enough change to do a full load of laundry, and he started crying and getting snot all over my pillow. I had to go wake up the RD, person in charge of the dorm, and have him escorted out. Then he wouldn't stop sending me messages. They became more desperate, until they became threats at rape. I saved the messages and used them to file a restraining order. A few other girls wanted in on it, so Weird Larry was evicted from his own dormitory and had to drop out of school. Too long, didn't read, came into my dorm room uninvited, then gave me some quarters and told me he was paying me for sex. Then he cried when I said no. Wound up needing a restraining order. When I delivered pizzas and I was 18, this guy asked me if I wanted to step in while he grabbed his money. It was cold and rainy, so I took him up on the offer. He ended up trying to keep me there till his mom got home because he didn't have enough for the pizza. He tried to force me into a pyramid scheme and kept making uncomfortable comments about me. I had left my phone in my car, so I couldn't text my manager to call me to give me an out because no matter how hard I tried to leave, this guy would find some way to block my path. I took off when he went to the bathroom and told my manager about what happened. Females weren't allowed to deliver to him anymore. We eventually found out he was a convicted sex offender too. Normally I find an out and I always have an escape plan. But I put myself in a position where I couldn't give myself an escape. I went on to manage/deliver pizzas for several years, but after that day I implemented a new rule, which was, never enter anyone's home unless I knew who it was. I'd stand in the pouring rain any day over entering a stranger's home. I come from a safe, low-crime area, but my gut instinct that night was that I was in danger. Made eye contact with a guy across the street. Smiled at him to be polite. He followed me home without me realizing it and spent the next few days stalking me, following me when I left the house, leaving notes on my front door, etc. Had to get the cops involved. Kind of makes me look back at all the girls in college walking with their head down all the time. If I was in a good mood, I'd give whoever I passed a friendly smile, but I noticed any girl I passed would never even make eye contact. I tried not to take it personally, but every time I could only help but think, what's wrong with me? Am I ugly or something? Stories like this clear it up. All it takes is a smile? Really? F that. I smiled at a guy I passed in the park, as I do everyone I pass. He immediately turned around and followed me, but not before he began masturbating with his entire dick and balls out of his shorts. What kind of god-awful world do we live in if even a smile becomes a reason to assault someone? 14 years old and alone on the subway. Man sits in a seat across from me, spreads his legs and starts masturbating through his pants while staring me straight in the eyes. I was getting ready to jump up and run out at the next stop. An older gentleman suddenly appeared, stood directly in front of me like a shield and stared the guy down. At the next stop he pointed to the door and made him get off. I hope I said thank you, but I was in shock. So thank you, dear man who protected me and made me feel safe. What a nice man. Edit, I am talking about the man who helped the girl, not the old pervert. Most of these comments are about weird older creeps. It's nice to hear about a heroic older guy. When I was in elementary school, I used to follow around a couple neighbors whenever I had a spare minute. One was in his 70s taking care of his 95-year-old mother. He couldn't leave her home alone, so he was always around. He showed me how to keep bees. The other was a middle-aged divorced man who missed his kids terribly when they were with their mom. He and his wife just doted on me. I told one of them about a nice man at church who wanted to be my friend. He grabbed the other, and both men absolutely came unglued. I never saw that guy again after that and can't even remember what he looked like, but I remember how upset these two men were. I cried when one of them said grown men don't make friends with 6-year-olds. Because they were my friends. They just hugged me tight, said it was different, and carried me home to my parents. Good guys are amazing and incredible parts of a community. So, last year I got a flat tire on a semi-busy road right when a snowstorm started. Since I had AAA, I figured I would use one of my roadside assistants to have them replace the tire with a spare that I had, and I wouldn't have to go outside since I forgot gloves. While I was waiting, a mid-40s early 50s man came up to my window and asked if I needed help. Thinking that he was just a good Samaritan at the time, I thanked him but told him, no, I was just waiting for AAA. Now, if he left here, I would have a nice story about a guy willing to help me with a car problem. Instead, he gets downright pushy. He lives nearby. I can just take my car there and change it in his garage. Why don't I just stay in his house until AAA comes? I kept telling him no until he starts yelling, and I rolled up the window, and he starts pounding on it. Eventually he left when the AAA guy came, but I still took a very long and circuitous route home. Stay inside, lock the doors and honk the horn like and they usually go away. I have worked nights all my life and the amount of men that will approach a lone woman in a car is scary. I was 19, worked at a main library in my city, with several floors and an elevator. I was taking a book truck, the library guard got on. As soon as the door closed he cornered me and kissed me. He was at least 40 and much bigger than me. I never got on an elevator alone with him again, nor with anyone else that I didn't know. Now I see why elevators need cameras. I hope you're doing better, RN. A few years ago I lived in a tiny condo right next to a few trails in San Diego. I was on a pretty strict running and hiking routine. One night it got dark faster than expected. A man who appeared to be about 6'3" and 200 pounds approached me as I was nearing the end of my hike. He told me, with a smirk on his face, to be careful as there are many things that could hurt me when the sun goes down. The next day as I'm exiting my back gate he's standing there as if he's waiting for me. He introduced himself and admitted he's been watching me for a while. I decided to pretend like I was grabbing something from my car and went back into my house. For the next few days I see this guy circling my condo, looking in if the curtains are open. He was always walking around day and night. I checked the Megan's Law website and surprise, there he was. Multiple charges including rape by force or fear and child pornography. I decided to contact his parole officer and he immediately returned my call, stated he could tell I fit his MO and to use extreme caution. He said he would do what he could to get him out of the neighborhood. After that call I thankfully never saw him again. Excellent job finding his parole officer. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Thank you. It was particularly easy, there was a contact button on his page. What's Megan's Law? I was 8 years old and waiting for the bus in the morning to go to my mom's work. A guy sat next to me at the bus stop and his bus pass was the wrong color, expired. He told me he loved me and as scary as it is, I said thank you. When the bus finally came, I got on first and the bus driver lady immediately shut the door behind me. She said the man knelt down to try and look up my shorts and that he wouldn't be taking the bus with us. I told my mom and after work we went and bought me my first pepper spray. As a effing 8-year-old. That's terrible. I'm glad the bus driver didn't let him on. Used to work with this old man that would touch me all the time on my arm or my back. It's hard for me to make a scene, although I wish that I had been direct with him. My solution was to shuffle away from him anytime he got close to me. It did seem to fix it, but he was kind of a dick afterwards. Also same job, I was kissed on the neck by another coworker very suddenly. This guy was not from the US, so I chalked it up to cultural differences, but I did not view him the same way afterwards. There was a creepy hunched old man who used to come into a pub I worked at. He used to say and do slightly weird things, and then one day he called one of the glass collectors fat, she was 16 at the time, and to apologize he went to fist bump her, then grabbed her hand and put her fingers in his mouth. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.